Xavier sat in front of the chimney, hypnotized by a burning ember. Above the flame were 3 stockings that screamed Christmas. They were red and white, as if Santa Claus could wear 2 of them as socks. Last night, he had a nightmare about his adopted parents forgetting to shut off the fireplace, and coming Christmas morning, they'd find old St. Nicholas burnt like a flaky, crisp holiday turkey. In the nightmare, Santa was still breathing, as flesh slowly came off his face like black snowflakes in Chernobyl. Xavier woke up in a urinated twin-sized bed, tears down his cheeks. Tabitha and Ronald came barging into his room with concern and love. No orphan could ask for better parents to adopt them. They both held their youngest child and soothed him back to sleep. Misty, his oldest sibling, sneakily, like a feline burglar, peeled one of her presents open using her nail and saw a ridiculous priced coffee mug. She was a high school sophomore, so she had the privilege of a soon-to-be young adult to drink caffeine in the morning. RJ, Ronald Jr., the middle child, caught her in the act and yelled, "Mom! Dad! Misty is opening one of her presents early." Misty scrunched her left nostril and said, "No, I'm not." And then, under her breath, "You little fucking tattletale." Tabitha looked at both brother and sister, completely lost in the situation. Her eyes went back and forth, as if her pupils were the end of a metronome needle. Tick, tock, RJ or Misty. "Xavier, did you see what happened, sweetie?" "No," Xavier said softly, snapping out of the fire's trance. "Honey, how? You were sitting right there when it happened," Tabitha said. "Well, I wasn't looking," he replied in pure honesty. "But Xavier, did you at least hear wrapping paper rip?" Xavier went into deep thought and only remembered wood crackling from the scary yet gorgeous fire. Misty and RJ both stared at their younger brother with sniper assassin eyes, like if he chose either of them they'd pull the trigger on this tiny Christmas angel, and after having him in their scope, they'd hang him by his stupid tighty-whitey underpants on the tree where angels belonged. I don't know, Mommy. Xavier, please tell me. Your aunt and nephews are coming over tomorrow for Christmas dinner, and I really don't have time to play detective." Now his memory went back even deeper, and did remember seeing a taller figure slowly hunch under the tree in his peripheral vision. He looked at Misty for a second too long, and tried to diverge his glance at RJ next. Too late. Tabitha clocked it with motherly precision and punished her daughter with no cell phone for 1 whole day. Misty fumed out of her ears because she and her best friend had plans to call before bedtime tonight, since Christmas was about family quality time all day. Misty stomped upstairs to blast the newest indie emo band from her TV speaker. The lead singer sounded whiny and in desperate need of Mucinex. "Darling, we need to leave this town." Sometimes Xavier wondered, why does every guy who sounded like they were on the brink of tears sing about skipping town? Tonight, did Misty want to also leave this town? Another band came on and sang something about "Where are you?" and how he was sorry because he couldn't eat or sleep tonight. Being sleep deprived and starving? Xavier thought the poor singer needed urgent help rather than finding whoever he was singing about location. Tonight, he said to himself, wondering why that phrase stuck in their genre's vocabulary. Tonight, he also wondered if Santa would gift him a gift card for 2,000 credits on his Battle Royale all-man for themselves first-person shooter game. Xavier wanted a new cosmetic, maybe a tan trench coat and blue flame skin for his AR-15. Most parents heavily disagreed with children Xavier's age playing gun games. Tabitha and Ronald believed no harm could be done. Back in their days, cigarettes were promoted as cool and hip. So what was worse, digital games or lung cancer? They chose the latter. Before bedtime, Tabitha served hot chocolate after dinner. Ronald made honey-baked ham, mashed potatoes, and green beans. Xavier and RJ stabbed at the green beans as if they held pitchforks, and the vegetables were an ogre. Soon crept sleep on this beautiful white Christmas night. Snow blanketed the front yard, cold and sparkling like 1,000 tiny crystals. A heavy thud hit the roof of the house. It sounded as though a giant hand smacked snow off the shingles. Outside, the winter gale blew harsh, extremely cold and unforgiving. Jack Frost, not nipping at your nose, but peeling the skin off. Bells jingled above Xavier's room upstairs, followed by malicious high-pitched giggles. Collected footsteps ran over ice and snow as if they had done this many times before. Immense balance, effortless precision. Xavier woke up from their acts of gymnastics and hysterics. Immediately, he thought about the fireplace and how his parents might have forgot to put it out. He leapt out of bed and burst into a full sprint. "Santa's going to burn. No," he muttered to himself. Ronald was already in the hallway with the steel baseball bat gripped tightly in both hands. "Xavier, buddy, what are you doing awake? Get back to bed," he whispered. Something felt off. Daddy knew it was Christmas night, and Santa made those noises. So why are red alarms ringing in his head? Xavier wanted to protest, but instead automatically slipped back under the sheets, his fluffy rabbit slippers dragged behind him. No sense in arguing when Dad always won. Ronald knew the family house like the back of his hand. He avoided what steps squeaked and what corner would cast a shadow when he walked into the living room. The fireplace was still lit, not because they forgot, of course. Later that night, Ronald planned to bring down extra presents from Santa Claus. He crouched on the bottom step and listened carefully. Pubescent laughter echoed across the living room, as if kindergartners broke in with intentions to ruin Christmas. His guard depleted and went back to being a tired, calm, collected adult. "RJ, is that you down here? Bud, you are in big trouble if I find out you snuck a friend over without permission, especially on Christmas night." Ronald stood in disbelief as 4 short, gray creatures dressed in holiday apparel smiled at him. They wore green button sweaters, red-stained pants, and black pointed dress shoes, custom made for whatever these things were. They had sharp, grotesque nails and needle-shaped teeth. Under their eyelids, pus crusted, only irritating their already infected bloodshot eyes.
"Flesh smells jolly,"
one said.
"His intestines must taste like sugar cookies and semen."
Another shouted, snot like drool stuck to the side of its lip.
Naughty, naughty, oh so naughty,
the third elf said, fully aroused. Before Ronald could run up the stairs, two finely dressed freaks climbed on his back and calf, slicing deeply. He cried, while two others took sharpened candy canes and dragged them down the back of his knees, all the way to his ankles. Ronald clawed, with their combined weight of 200 pounds, pulling him toward the fireplace.
Burned him, he's been naughty.
Tabitha woke up to her adopted children, shaking her from deep sleep. Mommy, I think people are downstairs hurting Daddy, RJ said. I called 911 already, Misty followed, in full-blown panic. Mommy, I'm scared, Xavier cried next to her under the blanket. She immediately tied her robe and grabbed the heaviest thing she could find. In this case, Ronald's bowling trophy on the dresser. Stay here and lock the door. If the police don't come, and I am not back here in 5 minutes, I want you to go out the bedroom window. But Mommy, they said in unison. No, please, just this once, listen to me. Aim for the bushes below. Xavier goes down first, youngest to oldest. Okay? They nodded with tears. Tabitha heard her bedroom door lock click and began moving to the steps. Smoke filled below as half of Ronald's body ignited with the fireplace wood. She smelled strong charcoal, overcooked pork, and shit. Ronald made a urine crap slug trail to the fireplace, and what was worse is one elf took a hot poker to his anus and stabbed it through the back of his neck. Blood and fecal matter smeared where his Adam's apple used to be. Tabitha barely saw through the thick smoke. 3 shadows that reminded her of small copies of Xavier jumped on what might be the couch or what was left. Suddenly, a 4th figure ran on both hands and feet like a domesticated dog, slicing her Achilles heel open. She screamed in agony as smoke entered her lungs. On her knees, she met eye to eye with an ugly abomination.
Another human,
it said, smelling her hair.
Girl, this one's a girl.
Another smelt Tabitha from behind.
Mother, she is a mother. Feed her to the flames.
Tabitha was kicked in her jaw, dislocating it and crushing a front tooth. An elf stomped between her shoulder blades and wrapped her hair around its gray hand. She felt her scalp tear as it repeatedly bashed her skull against the hardwood floor. The vision became black, blurry tendrils and motion sickness. She vomited blood mixed with pink, mushy ham from dinner. Before breathing her last breath, an elf swung the disgusted hot poker, knocking her right eyeball out of its socket. Tabitha was stacked on her beloved husband, horribly burning them together. Smoke flowed under the bedroom door like a choking poltergeist. Misty immediately opened the 2 windows and took Xavier's hand. Xavier, remember what Mom said? Her voice shook. RJ began coughing as his eyes watered from tears and lack of breath. Sissy, no, I'm scared, Xavier sniffled. Me too, Xavier, but we need to get out. I'll be right behind you after RJ, I swear. She picked Xavier up and placed him on the window pane. His legs shivered when the ruthless winter breeze struck his face. Xavier had pajamas on, and they were thin. 3, 2. Before Misty said 1, she pushed him over. She knew Xavier would try to climb back inside, and she would probably let him. His body was not ready for impact. Both arms and legs, kicking and punching, while 2 very long seconds held him in the air. Misty closed her eyelids tightly and opened them when she heard his body wrestle against the bush outside. He cried with the bare minimum of 2 broken bones. At least it wasn't death or something worse, like rupturing the wrong nerve to make Xavier paralyzed. RJ launched into the bedpost when suddenly flames exploded through the door. Misty shielded her eyes, unable to breathe or see. RJ crawled to her leg, and she tugged him to the window. She didn't have time to be cautious of how he landed. RJ was flipped out head first, but luckily, gravity counterbalanced his weight, and he fell shoulder back, brushing across the bush and landing in 3 feet of snow. Misty climbed halfway out till a vicious battle cry rushing towards her said,
"You little bitch!"
The elf smacked her in the back with a piece of flaming wood. She did not know if it was a chair leg or just a piece from their burning house. Misty dropped into the snow. Her hair caught on fire, but was quickly extinguished by RJ and Xavier throwing snow over her head. The kids watched in awe. The elf cursed at them while its body burnt along with their childhood home. Its body made it halfway through the window until the frame gave away and trapped it like some gross method in a torture chamber.
Hold your distance. You hear me, naughty boys and girls? So naughty looking at your present, Misty. I look in your soul and it burns in hell.
The elf's voice tightened as it burned alive. All 3 siblings hugged each other and never let go. Sirens sang in the far background, while the last thing Misty, RJ, Xavier, and the elf witnessed was a sled flying across the moon.